not use the mic if everybody can hear me. Maybe now.
Okay, I'll stick to the mic. In 1973, I lost the chance to give the presidential address of AAG in 1975, losing the election to a distinguished colleague from the West Coast for vice president. Little did I know that I'll have a chance to do something like it, but much more enjoyable. For one thing, I feel very much at home here. I've been at these meetings since we started in 1947. I look around and see a great many friends. And let's put it this way. What I would like to talk about tonight is about today and tomorrow, and not for the ages. This is not a presidential address. It's a very lowbrow topic, ladies and gentlemen. If you wish to put it that way, it's about PR, public relations. More than that, and now I will speak very seriously, it is about survival, the survival of our discipline. We need not send to know for whom the bell tolls. If a year ago, first weekend in November, when this division met and was so hospitably received by our colleagues in London, Ontario, if anybody at that time would have said to me, in 8 months' time you will not have a department, I don't think I would have believed it. Neither would any of you. We may not have ever considered ourselves first or second or third, but we always felt that Michigan was a place that had earned a certain number of honors, mostly in terms of the men and the women who have been our students and who occupied and occupy honorable places in our profession. When I came to the United States in 1939, a topic that occupied a great deal of the time of the faculty and the graduate students was a question, what is geography? We spent innumerable hours. What is geography? And coming from the old world, from a world where the question did not arise, geography is part of the scheme of things, I wondered a great deal. I think I know a little bit more about it now, because by asking that question and standing by, I'm not saying idly, but still standing by, where at the time when geography gradually disappeared from our schools, we have lost that indispensable support that we needed. We, my dear colleagues, we need our students, we need our administrators, we need our legislators. We've got to tell them who we are, what we do, what we aim for. To paraphrase in the vernacular the title which I suggested to Professor Spinelli, we ain't got no image. We just have it. I'm dead serious. Let me start out by calling very briefly the roll of what happened in Ann Arbor. At 10 o'clock on January 27th, 1981, I went to meet a class. At 11 o'clock, I was met by my chairman, who at that time had just returned from the office of the dean to be informed that discontinuance proceedings were established, instituted against the department. We found out after the news, the radio, and the television heard it. I think the best reaction was from the son of our first chairman, John McMurray, teaching in Waterloo, Ontario, who called me that night and said he was out on a field trip with students. He had his radio in his car. He heard it, and he barely avoided the ditch. It was incredible. That was January 27th, 1981. The afternoon of June 19th, the Regents of the University of Michigan decided that as of July 1, 1982, the Department of Geography will cease to exist. This happened after 66 years. Of those 66, 58 years, the Department of Geography was an independent unit. 66 years. Hundreds of men and women who are proud of us and of whom we are proud. Bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, doctor's degrees. It took them exactly 5 months to destroy it. I still think that it was a bit unseemly. There is a huge dossier which I assembled. I have all the clippings, I have all the reports. If anybody would like to know how it happened, you're welcome to visit me and I'll provide you with a desk, but better put aside a day to go through that sad and depressing story. There's only one part of it that still fills me with a great deal of satisfaction. And that is the way in which geographers in the United States, in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, have responded to the news. The letters that came to the president of the university, to the acting dean of our college, are letters of which those of us who've been around a while will always be very proud. My good friend, Robert Ward at Eastern Michigan, and I sat down. I must say he did most of the work. There's a chance that you might read some of our thoughts in one of the next issues of the newsletter of the Association of American Geographers. And I tried to put together 10 points. And that reminds me of one of the very few bright moments in that agony from January through June. It was a comic strip called Frank and Ernest, and some of you, I'm sure, are familiar with. It showed the little man coming down from the mountain with the tablets of the law. And over in the corner it said, "What about tenure?" What are these 10 points? Let me go through them very quickly, merely to show you that because of what happened, we've been doing a lot of thinking. We are vulnerable, all of us. It was Michigan this year. It may be someone else. The list always starts with, "Oh, you must encourage good teaching." I hate to bring this up, but one of the darkest moments for me, meeting with our internal review committee, there was internal review, there was external review. I might add that the shock of what happened in January was made worse by the fact that 4 years earlier, after a complete internal and external review, we were not given too many gold stars, but we were definitely deemed to be worthy of continuance. When, in the course of the internal review, I met with our colleagues from other departments, and somebody brought up the point that there are some good teachers. And one of the members of the committee said, "Every time I hear of somebody who's a good teacher, I know he has never done anything." It's a shocking statement, but you'll hear it. Teaching is like motherhood in a great many places. The second point I'd like to bring up is one that comes very close right now, because it looks as if the University of Michigan, after the work of destruction, which took such a short time, has now decided that maybe it was a little hasty. They're now talking about an undergraduate curriculum. This is not the right institution to speak of that. But in the profession at large, the importance of undergraduate teaching and of a strong undergraduate base is one that, quite frankly, some of us, that includes Michigan, have not given all the attention that it deserved. The third point is perhaps a bit prosaic, but then so are all the others. To a European like myself, the position of geography is an established one. There is no question about it. In a number of university curricula, geography occupies an honorable place. It seems to me, again, present company may all be exempt and accepted, that geographers should do everything possible to require that the discipline of geography be part, and an important part, of the basic undergraduate curriculum. It'll take a while. It is done in a few places. For our survival, I think it's vital. For that, you may have to bargain, you may have to use trade-offs, you may do whatever is needed, because, ladies and gentlemen, enrollment means survival. The fourth is one upon which many comments were made. It's been mentioned with, sometimes, if you forgive me, with a sneer, the term service courses. I think it's vital. It is vital, and here I come to the core of it, that we, all of us who are teachers of geography, be in constant, close contact with those of our colleagues in other disciplines who are counselors, who are advisors, economics and sociology and geology and history and political science, you name the discipline. And let's face it, extol what geography tries to do. Horse trade, if necessary. But try and build. Because when the chips are down, it is figures that are looked at. Figures of enrollment, figures of majors. And there, this becomes a vital point. The next point is a very touchy one, but I felt that I would be less than candid if I didn't bring it up. We think, all of us, of ourselves, our own colleagues in our own department, in some ways. We rate some of them higher than others. In the system of the people's democracies, they have actually a Russian word, samokritik, self-evaluation. Call it that. Call it internal review. But it is important. We do it, yes, when it comes to promotion. We do it, yes, when it comes to tenure. But the time, I'm very much afraid, is very close when a regular internal review may become a matter of life and death for any one department of geography. We must know what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses. We must know who is pulling his weight and who is not, in ways in which I come in a moment. That in turn implies a series of comparisons. How do we do? How are we doing compared with, and you name it, compared with economics or psych, compared with sociology or history, compared with political science? Again, believe me that what I have to say comes from very close to the heart. In that graph, that all-powerful graph, those all-powerful tables, it's tables and graphs people will be looking at, and not you and me as individuals. Where does my department fit? Is it close to the top? Is it in the middle? Or is it to the bottom? In such things as enrollment, published research, number of majors, number of graduate students. And now we get down to some very important things, again, that we learn to our sorrow. What are the hour costs per credit hour in your department as compared with peer departments in other disciplines? Michigan is going all out for research. Well, it's always been a great research organization. But what is happening with the state of Michigan now in rather dire financial straits? Where are these research funds coming from? And there, the administration will say, all right, what have you done lately for us? What research projects have you brought in that mean 65% of wages and salaries in overhead? These are the figures they are looking at. Maybe in some institutions more attention is paid than in others. But somewhere along the line, that problem will come up. Then, of course, there's the last one, and that's the trickiest of them all. What is the reputation of the department? To look at that candidly, it's not easy. I said a moment ago, say Michigan in one rating, which unfortunately was published without any supporting data, Michigan was rated the second department in the United States. I don't know, I don't buy that. I buy that we are among the first 10, were. But what is the reputation locally? What is the reputation nationally? How does it add up? How do we rate in the eyes of peer departments within the state, within the nation, or let's face it, within North America, where that invisible line separating us from our close friends and colleagues in Canada does not really mean very much. We are on trial here more than across the border, but the comparison is always in North America, departments in the United States and Canada. How does your department rate? This is what they're looking at, or what they might be looking at today, tomorrow, in 5 years. The image of geography. Virtually all of us have at one time or another advised students. And one of the points which troubled me over the years is career possibilities. What do you do when you are a geographer? In my department, after all that has happened, we are still operating for this year, had a very interesting case just a few days ago. One of our very bright master's candidates who finished her degree this summer went to New York City to be interviewed with several major banking firms. Chase Manhattan, Morgan Guaranty Trust, Chemical Bank. She got the job with Chemical Bank, and what they said to her was, well, you're a geographer. We can use you in a lot of places. I think it was a surprise to her, maybe a surprise to some of us. We have, and I will be more than happy to be corrected, but over the years, geography has, I think, projected an image, if it did, of two things, essentially. We've been teachers, been researchers, we have been civil servants, careers in teaching, at the secondary level, more frequently at the university level. We have served government, local, state, national, in a handful of cases international, with our particular skills, with our particular point of view. We have to publicize what geography can do for you. That is what our students will want to know, it seems to me. Not just the traditional things, but the new things. And that includes, and this is something that some departments, I am sure, do better than others, is to publicize what are the folks doing who got their degrees with you, whether it be a BA, MA, a doctorate. Where are they now? We did it was a bit late. I recall 31 years ago, Professor McMurray celebrated his official 25th anniversary as the chairman of our department. We had a banquet, and at that time, all but 2 of the people who had earned a doctorate, and all but 5 of the people who earned a master's degree at Michigan between 1923 and 1950 came to an hour. It was a unique occasion. And I was master of ceremonies, and we planned the roll call. And we asked people around these tables, there were over 200 people present, to stand up, identify themselves, and tell the others what they do. It was a very impressive thing. Alas, we didn't follow it up. We didn't keep that roster up to date. So that when your dean, your president, your vice president for academic affairs, your committees will say, well, what have you done for us lately? What are your graduates doing? That's also part of the image. And now I come to a very significant point to me. Campus politics is not a nice word. It's real. Let me start at the top or the bottom. It depends how you look upon it. How many of your colleagues are occupying key positions or positions on key committees? The executive committee of your college, the faculty senate, the governing board of the graduate school. There are 2 of us here tonight who have held that position. I know that Professor Larimore, as much as myself, enjoyed that. It gave us a perspective where we could look at the whole of the university. I'm not sure, but Dr. Larimore will agree with me, it's not a very powerful committee in many things. Let me just, I wish I could say let my hair down, but I haven't got enough. The last time that a member of the Department of Geography at the University of Michigan occupied a position on the executive committee of the college, which in our particular instance this year initiated this whole procedure, I'll have to tell you that it was in 1937. That's very poor playing at campus politics. I was told about a Big Ten geography department which shall remain unnamed. At about the same time when the axe fell on our heads, it looked as if that department might have to go the same route, except for this, that one member of that department staff picked up a set of very bad vibrations and said to his chairman, I think you better go and see the powers that be and make sure that this rumor is ill-founded. Ladies and gentlemen, I can give you my word that none of us, members of the staff or graduate students, knew what was coming. True, they have done a trial run on us. They called us Department Omega. We have a big sign over our department office I was responsible for that says in very large letters, "Welcome to Omega." That shows how little we knew. It could happen again in any number of places. And that is what campus politics is about. It is not what some of us particularly care to do. But geography is a small discipline, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have too much in the way of a lobby. We have to do our own lobbying. Committees, positions of influence, the ear of those that make the decisions. Some of you, I'm sure, pick up occasionally television programs from Detroit. And there is a weather forecaster who is something of a Detroit tradition. I can't say anything else for him, except he's been there for 30 years. And his favorite word recently has been the long ranger, which means he forecasts the weather for the next 2 days. A year ago, this division met jointly with the Ontario division of the Canadian Association of the Geographers. And I listened, and I was mortified, only didn't know how much more mortified it would become later, to a most impressive presentation by a distinguished senior colleague from Western Ontario, Professor Plevin, who told us what is being done in the schools for geography in the province of Ontario. What can we say? I don't know about Ohio. I know far too little or too much about Michigan. What have we done? What do we know about what's going on in the schools? Your students and mine certainly, come to school, come to college, and if they heard of geography, that's the exception rather than the rule. If I may present to you a capsule, and it's very corny, but I believe in it, that as a profession we must evangelize the educators. The hour is midnight. Unless we do, geography, having already disappeared from the primary and the secondary curriculum for all intents and purposes in a number of places, the process will continue at the college level. You will probably say that because of what happened, I see things through a glass very darkly. I want to assure you that as much as is humanly possible, I tried to jot down these notes, and Rocky Ward and I have discussed these matters, trying to think of it not in terms of a particular sad instance, which was us, but trying to think of it as a profession. The sum and substance of it all is again that one word, the image. And now let me again bring up some very lowbrow points. You may think of them as vulgar. I don't think so. We have to keep telling people what geographers do. The honors they receive, the travels they accomplish, the books and major articles that they write. We have to tell it to our own university public relations office. If you're lucky, they'll pick it up and run with it. But at least they'll know. Because unless we tell them, believe me, they are not going to try to find out. We have to offer to speak to alumni groups. We have to talk to counselors in the schools. I was thinking that one of the things we have, one of the many opportunities we missed in the state of Michigan is the in-service training opportunities to speak to teachers, to superintendents, and tell them that geography is a very exciting thing. After a lifetime in it, I have not ceased to be seized and excited by that. The possibilities. I think of geography as a tripod, resting on one firm basis, which is maps and cartography, looking at the physical environment, and some of you, I'm afraid, might agree with me that in environmental studies we have not done as much as we could have. We think of a regional geography, old-fashioned as it may seem. If you want to be more old-fashioned, then the last great and nationwide emergency of our country, the the small group of geographers who were practicing in 1940, with very few exceptions, were valued, honored, pampered members of our own national war effort. We are not at war, we are at peace. But just a recent survey that I'm sure all of you know about, which showed the dismal degree of ignorance of relatively well-educated young men and women about the rest of the world, should give us pause. There is something that we could do. We could show and tell, if you will. We could show maps. We could tell about our own books, our own articles. We could let our community know, our newspapers, our radio. In Michigan, we have some very distinguished scholars who have participated in some national councils. They do not miss an opportunity to let the community know about it. The community knew very little about geography. This may be a different matter in others, but I think it's essential. Contact, exposure, and if I may be allowed to use a very vulgar word, publicity. I've had the very great privilege, and I consider it such, of teaching for the last 41 years geography at Michigan. I've had my share of honors, a lot more than I deserve. I would like you to know that all of that doesn't quite outweigh the feeling of being a man without a country. All 13 of us who were members of the department staff on that day, on June 19th, when our graduate students spoke for us, when several members of the Board of Regents spoke for us, and when it came to the vote, and the Board of Regents voted unanimously to discontinue geography. We will hit. We'll do the best we can. We'll try and keep geography alive as a discipline, as a word that should be part of the university as an establishment of teaching and learning. It's going to be a lot harder now than it would have been some years back. My only hope is that no one will think that it could only happen once. That no one will think that Michigan was a freak accident. I listen, I read, I talk with people, and I come back to this same notion. The geographer, what do you do? What is it? Just what is it that you do? We have fallen as a profession down very severely. We have a tremendous job before us. Michigan may be an isolated case. I hope and pray it is. But that hope and that prayer is not based on any realistic assessment of the situation. We have to look into our own hearts. We have to look at what we have done with a degree of honesty that one reserves for oneself, so that I hope that what happened in Ann Arbor is not going to happen in other places. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not new. 7 years ago, a committee of the College of Literature, Science and the Arts, where the Department of Geography is located, made the following statement. Harvard does not have a geography department. I hear that once more. You know what followed. Yale doesn't have a geography department. Stanford doesn't have a geography department. Why should we have one? The same statement could be made in other places. The arguments to counter that do not come easily. The strongest argument that all of us can provide is to make sure, one, that people know who we are, what we do. Two, that we know where we fit in. Are we good? Are we mediocre? Are we not very good at all? How do we compare with the others? These are unavoidable. These are indispensable. I don't want to sound an alarmist, because I am not. I am not bitter. But I do feel that somebody, somewhere, will have to sound some sort of alarm. But the image of geography in the country at large, in our own hearts as practicing geographers, among our colleagues in the other disciplines, should become so firmly established that this question, what is geography, should not arise. Thank you very much.
I had some suspicions that we were going to hear that, and I'm glad we did hear it. And I don't want to sound too smug, because everyone has reason to consider those thoughts. But I heard something from your chairman, Dr. Nyston, in Toledo back in the spring quarter. And as he was talking about some of these same similar problems, things we had to be concerned with, I felt a little smug at the time, because I was saying, well, we're trying to correct that. We're doing well in that area. We do carry a lot of students. And incidentally, I found out last year from one of the publishing companies, I'm going to brag now, that Bowling Green University's geography department has at that time we were told, the largest enrollment in introductory world regional geography in the United States. And a good friend of mine in Toledo told me, well, if you're going to say that, you might as well say the world, because if it's the largest in the United States, it's the largest in the world. So we found, it does become a load when you're teaching that many students, but it's also a way to introduce geography to students. I've been doing now for several years the preview day, where we go and we have 1,500 students come in, seniors from the surrounding areas and their parents, and we talk to them, and we have to convince them, of course, what geographers do and what they can do. And often we're flanked, as we were this year, by chemistry and psychology. And we had a nice little show going, but again, we have to get the parents and the students to listen to what we have to say. So we really do have to sell ourselves. I know what we can do. I feel very confident we can do it. We've got to sell ourselves. And I don't want to go on to the tail of your speech here, because you put it much more eloquently than I can. I was also reminded, again, I am going to brag just a bit more. I believe this quarter, we often complain about what we have to do, but as far as service is concerned, I think we have more people in our department this quarter on major committees at the university level and the college level than I think we probably have ever had before. And I think it's because we want to do things, and I think we're very competent to do that. And I think we'll probably continue in that vein. But I want to thank you very much for your words tonight. I really did enjoy this. I would also like to thank all of you for coming here tonight. This was a tremendous success. We had 38 people signed up a week ago, and I thought I could probably handle that in my backyard. But as it turned out, we did fill 80 seats here tonight. If you're going home tonight, of course, I wish you a happy journey and a safe journey. If you're going to be here tomorrow, and I do hope you stay, and you're all invited, we're going to wake you up early, not with personal calls, but at 8:15, we're going to serve some free coffee and donuts. Once again, compliments of one of the publishing companies, John Wiley. And that starts at 8:15 tomorrow in the alumni room where we were today. At 8:30, we hope while you're still kind of choking on your donuts and dribbling coffee and tea on yourselves, you will stay for our business meeting, because we do have some important bits of business to transact. So by 9:30, when you're fully awake and we've transacted our business, we'll start the morning sessions. Then we'll have a lunch break on your own account, and once again, we'll finish with the afternoon session beginning at 1 o'clock. So I thank you all very much for your attendance tonight, and I hope I see you all tomorrow. And again, when we finish tomorrow, I wish you all a safe journey too. So thank you very much, and good night.